Hello from Chez Moi. It's April the 5th, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I thought I would do a little blossom report. The red maples bloomed for about 3 weeks, I would say, and now they're pretty much done. The redbuds, like that one right there, are about half leafed out. The pines are in full pollen splendor. Columbines are just starting to bloom. I'm on my second wave of dandelions. Half of them are in flower, half of them are in seed. Clover has just started. Wisteria is, I'm not sure if you can see it, I'll try to remember to go up. Wisteria is in good blossom, beginning to fall, and the azaleas are just stunning. I have this hot pink one over here in the corner that is my absolute favorite. Let's see if we can get not a really great picture of it. Can you see that? I don't know. On this screen, it really doesn't do it justice. But that is like hot psychedelic 70s pink, and I love it, and I wish it were closer up. I may have to figure out a way to move it. So, as I said, my columbines are beginning to bloom. Other things are starting to get heads. Lots of sweet william. Lots of beautiful sweet william starting to get heads. There's some violets. Not a whole lot of really interesting stuff taking place because it is still early spring. Just a lot of greenery, really. A lot of blossoms, a lot of promise. Parsley coming back. Strawberries, look, I have all kinds of strawberry blossoms. Do you think the squirrels and chipmunks will leave me any? It's anyone's guess. The roses are about to bloom. You see, I put all my compost, that is 2 to 3 years worth of compost that I put on the beds where my peppers will bloom eventually. My sage overwintered in the ground. I'm going to let it have some blossoms. I might even harvest seeds, we'll see. I could envision some sage bushes along the front. Sage and rosemary, two of my favorite flavors. These are some of my favorite flowers. Oh, and there's a fat little bumblebee. Let's see if we can see the fat little bumblebee on the lemon tree. Oh. Probably she, just really doesn't want to be photographed. Anyway, take my word for it, but there's a fat little bumblebee that is delighting in these lemon tree blossoms. I think I've fooled it into thinking this is its winter, because I kept it indoors in 60th degrees heat during December and January, and now that it's April, it's actually seeing some 30 and 40 degree night times. So I saw, oh yeah, there's some blossoms starting on my sweet william. Right, ferns coming back. Let's go to the backyard. I planted some cilantro. Don't really see anything starting, but we'll give it a little while. One of my projects for later today, there's the bumblebee. I took, see her? Man, she's just camera shy. Anyway, I took some of these seeds from my fatsia that were themselves taken from seeds from some landscaping. And I'm going to try to get some more because ultimately I would really like to remove all this brush from up there, save the beautiful azaleas, and plant some more fatsia along the fence line. Look at my ferns. I'm so proud of my ferns. We'll go in the back way and see my new ferns. But look at them here. Let's get up close and personal. I mean, those are spores 2 years ago, right? Now that's some beautiful, well-established ferns. You also see these little sprouts. Every year I get hundreds of these, quite literally. From this, which I think, I've heard people call it a hyacinth tree. You can tell me what it is. It has a really nice little purple throated, white blossomed flowers in the summer that bumblebees love. So I would not be averse to planting some more of those as well. They seem to be quite shade tolerant, so I wouldn't mind putting those in the backyard. I have decided this is one of my favorite sitting spots on the other side of this tree. So that's going to be one of my palette projects, is put a little sitting area in my tree. There's a redbud in bloom. Here's the wisteria. Can you see the wisteria? Bumblebees love it. I don't know where my bees are going. I can't seem to find them. They're not on the dandelions. They're not on the clover. I mean, there's lots of blooming trees, but I don't know where they've gone. We're going to freak out the chickens because they really want to play. My Lenten roses / hellebores are blooming. They're not the best. I mean, they're kind of green and boring, but, you know, I didn't plant them. They come back every year. I guess the azaleas get to live. This is the first year I've gotten this camellia to blossom. She's lasting really long. That was a really pretty pink azalea. It's pretty much leafed out. This is a nice white one, and I'm beginning to get... They're blooming in succession. It's kind of nice. Where I come down the hill and they bloom a little further on. So you see I'm getting these pretty big white ones. I think this one's a native. Beautiful blossom. Come on, camera. Autofocus. There you go. It's a pretty blossom. And the pink ones will be coming along shortly. My chickens are ready to come out, and I will let them out in a second. There's lots of activity down in the apiary. We'll go in and we'll see what I did yesterday, which was to put some strips on some frames. I'm refurbishing all my frames because Lilith needs a new box. I've decided against feeding Hygieia because even though it's a little cool at night, there's so much blossoming. This is a cast. This is a second swarm. If she can't make it, then I really don't want to prop her up. So, let's go in. And I need to put some soil in that, get that started, because I have lots of things to put in it. Let's go in and see. This is another little project. I've been gathering up all the sticks and shrubs, the ivy that falls out of the tree, and I've been chopping it up. Put on my pathways and anywhere where the grass doesn't grow, which in the backyard is quite a lot of places. So, let's see. Oh, I love how it does the light balance. This is a bag full of wax, which I am planning to melt today. I've given up on my solar wax melter until the summer. It's just not working for me. So I've sent my husband away to get an induction plate, a pot, and some other accoutrements. And I don't know if I'll film my first attempt, but once I work it out, I'll show you how to do it. Here are my strips. I have 3 frames that just have starter strips. They have popsicle sticks that are glued in. These didn't, so I put a little bit of beeswax to kind of encourage growth. Those are going on Lilith. I just need to put the other fishing line in, a la Fat Bee Man. These take me kind of a day to process because I string them and then glue in the foundation, let that sit overnight. I found that's the best. And then string the next day, go in. I should mention that when I first started beekeeping in 2008, I bought 50 sheets of small cell medium frame foundation, and it took me literally 10 years to use it all because I cut into these strips. This is the first time I just bought 10 this time around. I learned my lesson. I'm going to repaint that. That's going to be Hygieia. I'm going to paint it just standard, my background green. And if Hygieia continues, I don't want to jinx her. It's kind of like naming a wildling child. You don't do that until you're sure that it's going to thrive. But if I start seeing drawn comb and all that whatnot, I will be sure to paint Hygieia. So I think I sunburned these plants, these impatiens. I mean, they're looking kind of peaked. So I may leave them indoors. These, in contrast, sat on the rock wall. So lesson learned, that's where you harden off impatience. My basil needs to go outside. I pinched off I don't know how many seed pods. Nasturtiums. All of these guys, camellia, need to go outside. Over here, we've got our tomatoes and eggplant. One single little marigold. I really need to plant some more marigolds. Oops. Looks like these impatiens need some water. Got some more peppers. And eggplants. And right down here, it's one of my favorites. I've got ferns here. You see on top? Each one of those will grow up to be one of those autumn ferns we just saw. And I would say I have 24 of them. Ferns are really easy if you're forgetful. You just take some soil, get it really wet, put it in a plastic bag like this, throw your spores on there, and come back 6 months later. So, I have lots of things to do. You see them all, but I'm ready for spring. And that's it. Au revoir from the Ant Wife's garden.